Admiral Green, I want to associate my comments. It must be, I'm sure you're very sad that this is your last hearing before this committee, but you've had a long and very distinguished career, and I want to thank you. Secretary Mabus, your dad should have met my dad. I can remember my dad standing in front of me on the long-distance telephone looking at his watch, watching the time go by. I think they would have had some spiritual kinship. Admiral Greenert, the Arctic is an important area of policy. I know you've been looking at it. The Navy has developed a strategy. Just briefly, do you see the Arctic as an emerging area of importance, of strategic importance, national security importance to this country?
Senator, I do. I think we need to look at it deliberately and understand it. Therefore, things like ISEX, where we were together almost a year ago, we need to do it more frequently, get industry up there and study the place, find out when is it going to melt, what are the sea lines of communication that will open, are there territorial disputes, who has them, are there threats, Russia's increasing their military presence, sort of makes sense in that is where a sea line of communication is. But also, how do we survive up there, our ships, our aircraft, and our people?
I think just a simple example about infrastructure, icebreakers, we have one heavy-duty, one medium-duty Coast Guard. The Russians have 17 icebreakers in the Arctic, and if we're talking about innocent passage, trade, icebreakers are the highway builders, if you will, and that's an area, I know it's not a naval question, but I mean, that's an example of how we are really not adequately, I believe, developing our strategic interests in that region. Again, for Secretary Mabus and Admiral Greenert, it strikes me that one of the issues that really isn't talked about, we've talked a lot about sequestration, and I don't have to pile on that subject. We all agree that it's a serious risk to the national security of this country. But the industrial base, you can't turn off and on a shipyard. And one of the things that worries me as I look at charts from Bath Iron Works, for example, in Maine, that if we don't have the workload, the employment drops down. If a skilled shipbuilder leaves to go to some other area of the country or some other profession, they're gone, and you can't just turn that back on. Secretary Mabus, is that something that concerns you?
Concerns me every day, Senator, and it's one of the reasons that I said in my opening statement and the statement, the larger statement to the committee, that I will protect shipbuilding to the maximum extent possible because it's not reversible. If you don't build a Navy ship one year, you never build it. It's not something that money the next year can make up, and it's primarily because of that industrial base. If you lose those highly skilled workers and their unique skills, they're not easily learned. In fact, I was, as Senator Reid said, I was at Quonset Point with a keel laying for the USS Colorado. They recognized more than 10 people who were celebrating their 40th anniversary at that shipyard that worked there for more than 40 years. So the industrial base, if you lose it, if you lose these high-quality, high-skilled shipbuilders, you don't get them back. And you see the effects today in terms of Bath or some of our other shipyards. What you see is the effects on our fleet 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. And it's something that I've said, evidently I used a term that nobody else had used much, but I'm going to protect shipbuilding until the last dog dies. We're going to try to stay there partly for the industrial base, but also for our Navy.
And one of the problems is the long lead time means that shortchanging we're doing now is going to have the effect 5, 10 years from now. I remember learning in driver's ed that if you are going above a certain speed, your headlights won't illuminate the wall in time for you to stop. And in effect, there's a wall out there that we're very close to hitting. We just won't know it for about 10 years because of the decisions we're making now in terms of the short-sightedness of this sequester policy.
We are living today with decisions that were made 10, 15 years ago in terms of the size of our fleet. The people sitting in all these chairs 15, 20 years from now, we'll be living with the decisions we make today. And as I said, in shipbuilding, they're not reversible.
Well, you ended your prepared testimony with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt about the Navy as an instrument of peace. From that same speech, Roosevelt said something that is extraordinarily applicable to the discussion we've been having today about readiness. He said, "The veteran seamen of our warships are of as high a type as can be found in any navy which rides the waters of the world. They are unsurpassed in daring and resolution, in readiness and thorough knowledge of their profession." This is Teddy Roosevelt 100 years ago. "To build the finest ship with the deadliest battery and to send it afloat with a raw crew, no matter how brave they are individually, would be to ensure disaster if a foe of average capacity were encountered. This is the payoff line. Neither ships nor men can be improvised when the war has begun." General Dunford, I would assume this is all about readiness and training and the irresponsibility of our not solving this funding problem so that you can have your men and women ready.
No, absolutely, Senator. I mean, that's what you expect from the nation's ready force, is that when you call us, we're there. As I mentioned earlier, when you call us for today's crisis, we respond actually today, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your service. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.